Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name's Aceikith Gaming and welcome back to iRacing Education. So later on this month, I believe is around about a couple of weeks, we have the 24 Hours of Daytona coming up. And this week is actually got Daytona for this week's VRS Sprint Series race. So I have literally just completed a VRS Sprint race, which you would have seen during the weekend, which you would have seen a video. During that video would have been an incident. Now, originally, I was actually going to be putting this as an extra little bit of thing at the end, just to bring up how I felt about it. And upon reflection, there's a couple of things that I didn't quite notice, and maybe there was a couple of things that I could have done better, because even I can definitely improve. I know that. You know, and I'm always learning different things every day within sim racing, even though I've been sim racing for around about 5 years. So for those of you that are brand new to the channel, who am I first of all? So my name's Alan Day. I am a 2.4K iRacing driver, which isn't particularly high, but I've got more than 5 years of iRacing experience. I've been driving for a considerably long amount of time, even go-karting since the age of 8. And I've been part of one of the disability racing teams known as Team Brit, a part of their esports division from when they were running, and also being part of the Simability racing team as well as the Simability racing community. So I am a disabled sim racer, although I am physically able to do sim racing. You know, I'm not handicapped in that manner, but I am still I do still have a disability, although it's a mental disability. So with this incident, this is just after the pit stop phase at Daytona in the VRS sprint race. And the reason why this is something that I think will be a good idea to bring up is because during the 24 Hours of Daytona, I see this possibly happening quite frequently because different drivers want to be able to save fuel behind another driver. And sometimes the way they do it, sometimes it's perfectly okay because everybody can read what everybody is doing. But with everybody being so close, obviously more so in a sprint race is going to happen more frequently. But in a 24-hour race, it can still happen. So when two cars get close, one of them is obviously going to be noticeably faster than the other because of what happens, which is called slipstream. On tracks like Daytona and Le Mans, it's going to happen a lot more because slipstreaming is going to be a lot more apparent because there are much longer straights. So with slipstreaming, particularly when two cars get close, if one driver becomes very unpredictable, it is a very high chance that a high-speed crash can occur. And if two cars was to crash into each other at a very high-speed section of the track, 9 times out of 10, that is going to be their race done just like that. Like, imagine if, say, for example, you're slipstreaming somebody and they do something unpredictable, let's say 14 hours in the middle of the night, and somebody slows down to allow you through when you're in the same class as them racing for position. If they suddenly slow down and you don't notice that, that can be your race over and their race over, and they get mad at you because you've slammed into the back of them. But what can they do? You know, did they slow down? Was it just a matter of that you just didn't notice them? So this is what we're going to look at here. So we are on lap 16 of a VRS sprint race, which is about 40 minutes. And we are just entering the bus stop. And then we're going to go through oval turns 3 and 4, coming up to the tri-oval. So on the exit of turn 4, this BMW, as you can see, obviously I'm the car behind. The BMW is ahead of me and has overtaken me during the pit stop phase, but has been faster than me leading up to the pit stop phase. I have started being a little bit quicker coming out of the pit lane because I started having a bit more confidence with having more time on the track. I feel that the BMW has done something a little bit unpredictable in trying to slow down and let me past. I don't necessarily want to let him go past him straight away because there's still a length of time left in the race and the BMW is faster than a Ferrari going along a straight. So I don't want to be a sitting duck, especially on the final lap where he can overtake me very easily. So my plan is just stream behind him and then try and make an overtake maybe on the last lap to try and make that last minute pass going along to start finish straight onto the tri-oval. So I'm going to play it full speed first of all. So we're just going into the bus stop now. We're already in the braking zone. So we go through the bus stop. He goes a little bit wide. I get the line perfect. So I am already right on his back bumper. Now you'll notice he goes all the way up to the top of the track. And I directly follow him, trying to tell him, I just want to be behind you. But as you can see there, I hit him from behind. And obviously, if you had watched that video in itself live on the actual iRacing video itself, I got a little bit confused and a little bit annoyed by how he was driving. So obviously, you see my my inputs. Obviously, this is actually from directly after the race, so I've not taken too much time away. I've literally stayed in this seat and thought this will be a good video for iRacing education content, which is something that I want to try and do a little bit more of during 2024. So obviously you've seen the live footage, so let's go back a little bit, and then what I'm going to do, I am going to show you my onboard camera. That's a little bit too far back. Okay, so let's go to just in the middle of the bus stop here. So let's go to cockpit. So you can see I am perfectly on the line, maybe about to cut this little bit here, if anything. But he has gone a little bit wide, as you can see here. So I've got it perfectly. He is just a little bit wide, but it is a little bit trickier with the BMW. And as you can see, because he's tried to correct himself, he is that much slower on the exit. He is, because of that exact reason. So let's play it at full speed again. So I notice he goes up the track. He wants to let me past, but I don't want to go past him. So I'm directly following exactly where he's going. And as you can see, I don't notice that he slows down. To me, it's a little bit abrupt, but that is what I thought at first. So what we'll do now, we'll go on board with the driver ahead of us, who's Gandika. I do hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, please do let me know, because I do try my best to try and pronounce names as best as possible. My name, I have a little bit of history with it. My name is a bit difficult to pronounce unless you are from France or watch Formula 1. So I have some friends intentionally pronounce my name wrong, and we always have a bit of a laugh with it. So let's ride on board with Gandika, who has just had a bit of a bad exit going through the bus stop. So watch this rev here. So he's just gone to 5th gear. It goes up, and he hits that yellow bar, but that goes away a little bit. Why is that? It's because he started to lift a little bit. So he's lifted in the middle of a straight, which in the first instance, most drivers will immediately say can be quite highly dangerous. Why is that? Because you are slowing down in an area where you are not normally slower. First things that a steward will look at is the previous few laps. Obviously, this is, closed door and shut. There is no way you should be slowing down in any way unless you are serving a slowdown. Now, if we go back a little bit, we'll be able to see if indeed he may have been serving a slowdown. As far as I'm aware, I do not believe he's serving a slowdown. So he goes through here. He goes a little bit wide, and he brakes a little bit more to try and get this car turned in. So, yeah, there is no way he's serving a slowdown. We can guarantee that now, that he was in no way serving a slowdown at any point during this sequence. So we're now going to play at full speed again. So he's now slows down a little bit. I am directly behind him, bear in mind. And he slows down again. And you see that little wiggle of wheel? If you notice that little bit of a wiggle on his wheel, I will go back on the FOV a little bit, so that way you get a better view. So let's go back a tiny bit further. So watch his wheel. You see that little wiggle there? That is me hitting him in the rear. And part of that, like, there's two things you could possibly say with that specifically. One, I am directly behind him. But why am I directly behind him? It's because we are on a straight and I'm just continuing to slipstream to try and get the maximum effect. But in my mind, I don't want to pass him yet. I don't want to be passing him at this moment because I know later on, if he's still behind me, he's going to be able to make that overtake. So my job is right now, just stay behind him. If there's somebody else behind me, then obviously I will have no choice, because it's basically then going to be a matter of, if I don't pass Gandika, the other guy that is behind me is then going to overtake me, and then it's going to be the first car in position to be able to make that overtake. So I would then be a sitting duck at that point. So I plan to stay behind him, and he's tried slowing down again a second time, and he might still be only slightly off the accelerator, but that is all that is needed. You should be at full acceleration at all times, right from the bus stop right through to turn 1, which is where we're coming up to at this point here. So what can we possibly learn from this such a thing here? So the first things first is obviously be predictable. That's the first thing that we can say. It's always be predictable. Gandika does something that is unpredictable, and by being unpredictable, he has made himself a very unsafe car on the track in that precise moment, because by being unpredictable, it leaves him exposed to being part of an incident on track. So he's lifted off, and by lifting off, he's not at the speed that he would typically be at. If he's made a mistake, then that is fair enough. But the only mistake he made was going through the bus stop a little bit too fast, so he's broke. So at that point, he should still be accelerating. The point where he's stopped accelerating at full speed is here. He should not be off the accelerator even by 1%. So the fact that he's even come off the accelerator slightly is quite a bad choice. It is. So if you do plan on letting somebody past, it's a very dangerous area to be doing that. But you also got to make sure, is the driver behind me aware that I want them to go past? In a race like this, I would be very careful in doing it, because if the car behind you is not aware that what you are doing, it can take you out and it can take them out. And iRacing stewards will not look very highly on what you have done if they look carefully enough at what the incident is, because some stewards may not look at it very well and will say to the car behind you, if you're the one slowing down, you shouldn't be crashing into the back of them. But if they look carefully enough and notice, oh, hang on a second, you're just lifting off the accelerator a little bit when you should be full throttle at all times, they are then going to look dimly at you and say, well, you can't have asked for it at the end of the day. So there is something that also I can learn as well, in, you know, concentrate a little bit more into what the car ahead of you is doing and don't get quite so close. But obviously most drivers will understand why you are so close. Racing is very close, especially GT3 racing, and every single ounce of slipstreaming that you are going to be wanting to do is something that you obviously do not want to be taken for granted, because the slipstreaming last season you could only get from being 0.5 of a second behind, which is already pretty close in itself. And the reason why they did that is because they didn't want to have people behind another car to have such a distinct advantage. They actually increased it this season because they noticed they went too harsh on it. So I believe it's now 0.8, where before I believe it was around about 1.2. I believe for the slipstreaming to take effect in GT3 racing. Obviously, I might be wrong on that. Please correct me if I am wrong on that. But of course, at the same time, like I would say to this particular driver, you know, be a little bit more aware. If you are lifting off the accelerator, don't do it so harshly, and make sure that you are aware if the driver behind you has noticed you doing that, because typically because GT3 cars don't have a great amount of downforce compared to when, you know, you look at, like, say, LMP2 cars or GTPs. They don't have that level of downforce. They do have some downforce, but not to that level. So when I get to about this close, if you start slowing down when I'm this close, chances are I'm going to go into the rear, really, to be honest. Or I'll suddenly swing out. And because the downforce level is so low, because obviously it is at Daytona, chances are if I swing out to the left very suddenly, I'm actually going to spin out. So you know, the choices then I have. Do I swing out very suddenly because I'm trying to avoid you and risk being out in the middle of a straight, which is something I don't want to do? Or, you know, go into the back of you a little bit and give you a touch and say, just get a move on. You know, because that's exactly what's happened here. I've gone into the back of him because I've not realised that, you know, he's going that much slower all of a sudden. And that is what I'm calling unpredictable. He's gone suddenly a lot slower compared to what he should be. We were going fairly equal speed. Maybe I'm going a little bit faster than him. And then suddenly he's lost. Like, let me have a look and see how much speed he has actually, in fact, lost by coming off the accelerator. So at 262 miles an hour, I'll call it. And I will go... So just before I hit him in the rear, he goes down to 257. Doesn't sound like a lot, but in that time frame of about, let's say, a second, I've gone to near him, but I'm slipstreaming him to actually hitting him in the back. And it takes that length of time for an incident to happen. So let me know how you feel about, obviously, this particular incident. Have you been in an incident like this? Obviously, this is something to watch out for during the 24 Hours of Daytona. You know, if you do come up to this sort of incident, hopefully you'll be, you'll know now a little bit on how to deal with a situation like this. Because particularly in the higher splits, it will happen. Or a driver that is a little bit more, oh, I just want slipstream from another car. You know, obviously multi-class racing obviously is going to be a lot different to compare to this, but the result can still be the same. And if anything, maybe it's even more dangerous because there's 3 different types of cars that operate at different levels of speed. So in the 24 Hours of Daytona, it's possibly even more dangerous because of the differences in speed compared to like different cars. You know, like obviously a GT3 car is going to have to let an LMP2 cast and a GTP because them prototypes are going to be noticeably faster. But if it's a similar class, just be a little bit aware of what is going on, you know, especially if you are trying to allow them pass. Don't be so drastic in, you know, trying to let somebody else pass. So yeah, we got to as low as 256 kilometers an hour, which is about 5 kilometers an hour difference, but that's all it takes. So let me know how you guys feel about the incident. Have you been in one similar to this before? Maybe you've been one during Daytona this week. Maybe you've been one at Le Mans last week, because obviously Le Mans, IMSA was at Le Mans last week. Let me know if you've had a similar incident such as this. And also let me know if you're looking forward to the 24 Hours of Daytona as well. For myself, I will be streaming the entire event on my YouTube channel. Within one of our Panda Pink cars. We are possibly looking at actually driving 2 cars this year. So we're going to have a standard Panda Pink team, and if we do get enough, we might be even running a second Panda Pink car. But that will obviously come up for another time. Hope you enjoyed the video as well. If you did enjoy the educational content, please leave a like on the video. It does help out a lot, and let me know as well that you are enjoying educational content as well, and that you do want more educational content such as this as well. And also subscribe to the channel for more content such as this as well. I typically do 1 video a week, 3 shorts a week, and 1 live stream per week during the weekend. But otherwise, hope you enjoy the rest of your day, guys. Hope to see you soon. Goodbye for now.